Betrayed by her best friend and pushed into the sea by her boyfriend, Larissa vanished, presumed lost forever. But 5 years later, she reappeared at a lavish party with a billionaire husband by her side, ready to exact her revenge. The late afternoon sun bathed the ship's deck in a golden glow, casting a warm hue over Larissa's hair as it fluttered in the breeze. The usually calm sea of this season seemed to hum in harmony with Larissa's joy, gently rocking the boat with its soothing rhythm. Leaning over the stern, Larissa watched in delight as dolphins danced alongside the vessel. Yet, amidst this idyllic scene, a shadow of apprehension crossed Mariana's face. Her eyes, fixed on the back of her friend, failed to mirror the happiness that pervaded the moment. Beside her, Ricardo observed the scene in silence, a slight furrow in his brow betraying his unease. This perfect moment, like a sandcastle built on the shore, was about to be swept away by the relentless tide of fate. Ricardo's hand trembled slightly as he touched Larissa's shoulder, interrupting her peaceful reverie. "Beautiful. Why don't you open Mariana's gift?" he suggested, his voice carefully neutral, while casting a quick, knowing glance at Mariana. Her rehearsed smile masked the cold calculation in her eyes as she handed over a package wrapped in shiny paper. "Happy birthday, Laurie. I hope you like it," she said warmly. As Larissa unwrapped the gift, a silver necklace with a wave-shaped pendant, Mariana seized the moment of distraction to whisper in Ricardo's ear, "It's time. We can't let this opportunity slip away." A shiver ran down Ricardo's spine. The promise of power and wealth that Mariana had dangled before him echoed in his mind, drowning out the last remnants of guilt that tried to surface. He nodded, his lips forming a thin line, and stepped away to retrieve something from the cabin, determination hardening his gaze. Meanwhile, completely unaware of the web of lies and betrayals closing in around her, Larissa admired the gift from her friend. "It's beautiful, Mari. Thank you," she exclaimed sincerely, standing up. Larissa walked to the edge of the boat, lifting the necklace toward the sun. "Look, Ricardo, see how it shines? It's like it reflects the light of our love," she said, her voice filled with happiness, oblivious to the dark expression that clouded her boyfriend's face as he watched her so close to the edge. A sudden gust of wind whipped across Larissa's face, causing her to turn back toward the interior of the boat. In that instant, Ricardo, with a quick and calculated movement, pushed her. Her cry of surprise was cut short as she lost her balance and tumbled over the side. The cold water enveloped her in a suffocating embrace. Larissa resurfaced, coughing and struggling against the waves that threatened to pull her under. Her eyes fixed on the boat, which sped away, taking with it her only hope of salvation. On the deck, Mariana and Ricardo watched the scene unfold, their feigned panic slowly fading from their faces as they distanced themselves from Larissa. The plan had been executed flawlessly. "Are you sure she's—" Ricardo began to ask, his voice thick with the guilt he tried to suppress. "Don't be an idiot," Mariana cut him off, her eyes gleaming with terrifying coldness. "The current here is too strong. No one survives." As the boat disappeared over the horizon, taking with it the dreams and the life Larissa once knew, the young woman clung desperately to a piece of broken wood from the ship. The current dragged her farther away, but the will to live, fueled by a growing fury, burned in her chest like an unquenchable flame. She refused to be just another victim in the web of lies and ambition woven by those she once loved. Hours passed, stretching into an endless torture under the relentless sun. Larissa's strength waned with every wave that battered her exhausted body. Clinging to the flimsy piece of wood that kept her afloat, her throat burned with thirst, and the memory of Ricardo and Mariana's betrayal gnawed at her, more painful than the wounds beginning to open on her skin. Just as hope started to fade, like the flame of a candle extinguished by the wind, a distant point on the blue horizon reignited the last spark of strength within Larissa. A modest, but sturdy fishing boat was cutting through the waves, heading in her direction. With the last of her strength, she waved her arms frantically, shouting for help, even though she knew her voice was swallowed by the vastness of the sea. However, fate seemed to have other plans for Larissa. One of the fishermen, drawn by the glint of sunlight reflecting off the silver necklace she still wore, spotted her. The boat altered its course, approaching her cautiously, and within moments, Larissa was hauled aboard, unconscious but alive. In the days that followed, Larissa drifted between unconsciousness and feverish dreams as the fishermen tended to her wounds and nourished her with what little they had. When she finally regained consciousness, her mind fragmented and confused, she found herself in a small fishing village. The humble villagers, despite their modest means, had taken her in, offering her the most precious gifts they had: compassion and shelter. The first weeks after the rescue were a blur in Larissa's mind. Memories of the accident, the betrayal, and the struggle to survive mingled with the care and kindness of the fishermen, creating a mosaic of pain and healing in her still fragile mind. The village, a warm refuge amidst the vastness of the coastline, became her cocoon, far removed from the big city with its empty ambitions and false friendships. Here, Larissa discovered a peace she never imagined existed. Her days were spent helping the fishermen with simple tasks, learning about life at sea, and healing the wounds of both body and soul. Dona Laura, the matriarch of the family who had taken her in, became a motherly figure to Larissa, offering wisdom and love as she helped piece together the fragments of her past. She taught Larissa to forgive herself and to find the strength to start anew. "The sea gave you back your life, Nina," Dona Laura would say as she taught Larissa to weave fishing nets. "Now it's time for you to weave your own destiny." Dona Laura's words resonated deeply in Larissa's heart. She knew she couldn't live forever as a castaway, haunted by the shadows of her past. She decided then to change her name and her life, shedding the identity that carried the pain of betrayal and adopting the name Aurora, in homage to the dawn that symbolized her new beginning. Aurora bid farewell to the village and set off for a distant city, carrying with her the scars of the past and the strength of newfound hope. The big city, once familiar and welcoming, now appeared to Aurora as an unknown territory. The bustling streets, the frantic pace, and the anonymity of the crowds both frightened and intrigued her. It was as if Larissa, the naive and dreamy girl, had been lost at sea, making way for Aurora, a woman marked by pain but also strengthened by overcoming it, determined to build a new life. Aurora rented a small room in a modest neighborhood and found work as a waitress in a busy restaurant. The days were long and exhausting, but she found satisfaction in every small achievement. With every cup of coffee served and every smile shared with the customers, Aurora felt she was reclaiming a part of herself that she had thought lost forever. In the restaurant, she met Miguel, a talented young chef with a generous heart. Drawn to the melancholic beauty and inner strength that shone in Aurora's eyes, Miguel approached her with caution and respect, slowly earning her friendship and trust. Their hurried lunches at the kitchen counter turned into long, late-night conversations, where they shared dreams, fears, and the stories each carried within them. As the bond between Aurora and Miguel deepened, the past she tried so hard to keep buried began to torment her once more. Nightmares and fleeting memories of Ricardo and Mariana, the coldly calculated betrayal, haunted her nights and gnawed at her peace. Aurora knew she couldn't move forward while carrying the weight of this unresolved truth of justice left undone. The vengeance, once dormant in the depths of her soul, now awoke with the force of a tsunami. Miguel's kisses, once a balm for Aurora's wounded soul, now tasted bittersweet with guilt. She found herself watching him as he slept, his face peaceful and serene in the moonlight, wondering how she could give herself to love while the shadow of vengeance loomed over her heart. The decision to confront her past came like a crashing wave, inevitable as the rising tide. Aurora knew she could never find peace while Ricardo and Mariana lived free, enjoying the life they had stolen from her. With each passing day, her anger and desire for justice grew, corroding the peace she had fought so hard to build. With the cold resolve of someone planning a battle, Aurora began gathering information about her enemies. She discovered that after her disappearance, Ricardo and Mariana had taken control of her family's businesses, amassing fortune and power. The news, far from surprising her, only fueled her determination. "They thrive on my pain, on my absence," Aurora thought, her eyes burning with a contained fury. "But I will remind them who I am. I will make them pay for every tear, for every day they stole from me," Aurora vowed, her resolve hardening like steel in her heart. Determined to act, she resigned from the restaurant, fabricating a story about a job opportunity in another city. Miguel, though saddened by their parting, promised to wait for her, blinded by love and completely unaware of the storm of emotions that raged behind Aurora's melancholy smile. With a heart heavy with sorrow, but a soul ablaze with the fire of justice, Aurora left behind the promise of a happy future and returned to the past she had sworn to bury, ready for the final confrontation. Her hometown greeted her with a suffocating embrace of memories. Every corner, every street Aurora walked down echoed with the ghosts of her past. Larissa's carefree laughter, the first kiss she shared with Ricardo, the whispered secrets in Mariana's ear. The pain of betrayal, once dulled by distance and time, now surged within her like a hurricane. Yet, Aurora was no longer the fragile, defenseless girl she once was. The years of struggle and survival had forged her into a strong woman, driven by an unbreakable purpose. With each step she took toward the mansion that had once belonged to her family, now occupied by her betrayers, Aurora felt her resolve solidify. Using a false name and posing as a successful businesswoman, she managed to get close to Ricardo and Mariana. She watched them closely, studying their every move, their weaknesses, their carefully constructed facades that masked the rot within. Ricardo, once charming and seductive, now bore a weary, bitter demeanor, lost in shady business deals and empty nights. Mariana, on the other hand, had become a caricature of unchecked ambition, draped in jewels and expensive dresses, but with vacant eyes and a soul gnawed away by guilt. From her strategic vantage point, Aurora felt a complex blend of disdain and pity. Despite all the wealth and power they had amassed, her enemies were prisoners of their own web of lies, condemned to live with the weight of the betrayal that haunted them. Without Ricardo and Mariana suspecting her true identity, Aurora began to infiltrate their social circle, slipping into their lives like a silent virus. She attended elegant dinners, charity events, and extravagant parties, always alert to every word, every glance, every gesture that might reveal a crack in their armor. The mask of success and philanthropy that the couple displayed to the world did not deceive Aurora. She perceived the hidden tension in their eyes, the subtle barbs exchanged beneath forced smiles, the constant fear lurking behind their facade of power and wealth. Meanwhile, Aurora used her new identity to weave her web of vengeance with cunning and intelligence. She began gathering evidence of the betrayal she had suffered. Falsified documents, suspicious financial transactions, witnesses who had been silenced by fear. Each piece of the puzzle, carefully assembled, brought her closer to the moment when she would confront her tormentors and reveal the truth to the world. The perfect opportunity arose during a gala ball held in support of a charitable institution organized by Mariana. The event, filled with illustrious guests from high society, would serve as the ideal stage for the couple's downfall. As Mariana moved through the room, basking in the compliments and attention of the press, Aurora watched from afar, a cold smile forming on her lips. The hour had come, The current of vengeance that had flowed silently for so long was about to swell into a tsunami, sweeping away everything in its path. The ballroom buzzed with music and the hum of conversation. But for Aurora, the world had narrowed to a single point. This makeshift stage where Mariana, resplendent in her gala gown, prepared to give a speech with a microphone in her hand. Mariana smiled at the audience, her mask of philanthropy perfectly in place. But Aurora saw beyond that facade. She saw the greed in Mariana's eyes, the calculated coldness lurking behind her sweet, soft voice. Aurora waited for the right moment, the exact instant when Mariana was boasting about the success of the company, the very company that had once belonged to Aurora's family, stolen through deceit and false promises. Silently, Aurora connected her phone to a projector she had discreetly set up in the ballroom the night before. With a single click, the screen behind Mariana lit up, revealing old photographs. Aurora and Mariana in moments of friendship, Aurora and Ricardo during their courtship. The audience, confused, began to murmur as Mariana, taken aback, struggled to understand what was happening. Then, the damning evidence appeared. Irrefutable proof of fraud, manipulation, and the cruel scheme that culminated in the attempt on Aurora's life. Altered contracts, bank statements, incriminating emails. All were projected for everyone to see, impossible to deny or ignore. A wave of astonishment rippled through the crowd. Mariana, pale as death, desperately tried to shut off the projector, while Ricardo, standing amid the crowd, felt the cold sweat of guilt trickle down his spine. Aurora, unwavering, stepped onto the stage. The music stopped, and the murmurs transformed into a deathly silence. All eyes were now on her, the woman who had risen from the ashes, no longer a victim, but an avenger. This woman, Aurora began, her voice firm and amplified by the microphone as she pointed directly at Mariana, tried to kill me and took everything from me. But the truth, like the tide, always finds its way back to the shore. The silence in the room was almost tangible, broken only by Mariana's ragged breathing and the relentless clicking of the projector as it displayed image after image of the web of lies expertly woven by the pair. With each new document revealed, the facade of philanthropy and success that Mariana and Ricardo had built crumbled a little more, exposing the corruption hidden beneath their glamorous exterior. Mariana, stunned and humiliated, struggled in vain to mount a defense, but the words died in her parched throat. The audience, once captivated by her charm and charisma, now looked at her with disgust and indignation. The mask had fallen, and the villain behind it was exposed for all to see. Ricardo, feeling the walls closing in, attempted to slip away through the crowd, but Aurora, anticipating his move, had already ordered the ballroom doors to be locked. There would be no escape for him. Not this time. Justice, though slow, was finally catching up to them. "Don't try to run, Ricardo," Aurora said, her voice echoing through the silent hall. "You and Mariana will pay for what you did. The law will take care of you." As the police, summoned by one of the guests, arrived to arrest the pair, Aurora felt a weight lift from her shoulders. The rage and desire for revenge that had consumed her for so long gave way to a bittersweet sense of peace. Justice was being served, but the scars of betrayal, like the marks left by the ocean's current, would remain etched in her soul forever. The downfall of Ricardo and Mariana was as swift as their rise had been meteoric. The evidence Aurora had presented was undeniable, and this time, justice was not swayed by their wealth or influence. Convicted of fraud, money laundering, and attempted murder, they traded their lives of luxury and power for the cold confines of prison, where they would have plenty of time to contemplate the consequences of their actions. For Aurora, justice served did not erase the scars of the past, but it brought a sense of relief and closure. She had faced her demons and emerged victorious, yet the wounds of betrayal would always linger, a reminder of the darkness she had endured and overcome. The sense of having closed a chapter in her life settled over Aurora like the calm after a storm. The shadow of vengeance that had haunted her for so long finally dissipated, giving way to a gentle but persistent light of hope. Relieved of the heavy burden she had carried for years, Aurora made the decision to leave behind the city that held so many painful memories. She sold the family mansion, a place once filled with joy, but later tainted by betrayal, donating a significant portion of the recovered fortune to the fishing village that had taken her in during her darkest moments. With a heart lighter than it had been in years, she set off for a new destination, a peaceful, welcoming coastal town far removed from the turmoil of her past. In this serene new environment, Aurora finally found the peace she had longed for. She devoted herself to helping other victims of violence, sharing her story to offer them support and hope. Her efforts were a testament to her resilience and her commitment to ensuring that others would not have to suffer as she had. And it was in the midst of this new mission that fate had one last surprise in store for her. Miguel, who had never stopped searching for the great love of his life, found her in that small seaside town. Their reunion was nothing short of miraculous, filled with questions, tears, and the overwhelming joy of two souls who recognized each other even after enduring the fiercest of storms. Aurora, finally free from the chains of her past, allowed herself to love and be loved once more. With Miguel by her side, she discovered the happiness that the current of vengeance had once tried to deny her, proving that even in the most turbulent waters, love and hope can bloom. Like a river flowing into the sea, Aurora found her safe harbor, a place where peace and love reigned supreme. She had come full circle, and in doing so, had reclaimed her life, her happiness, and her future. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to leave a like and subscribe to the channel. Your support is crucial for us to continue bringing more amazing content. Activate the notification bell so you don't miss any updates. Thank you for watching.